All right, good evening, everybody. Okay, lots of people coming in as well. Good evening, everybody. All right, and we are live on Facebook and on Zoom, right? So this is like a little intimate safe corner where we do our self-care Saturday. Welcome back again. And I'm your host, Felicia, and we have Prof. Mohammad, we have Coach Francis, all the regulars here. Thank you so much for joining. As this month of August, we have our, not only our Merdeka month, but we also name our August month a month of self-development, where we have a series of topics that will be able to help us to be mindful and our like back to our topic today, being a better you, right? And hoping this can also help us to help other people. So thank you so much for joining. I'll just share. All right, so yes, our PRKPP and FIT unit, where we represent education, mental health, physical health, so everything that encompasses the physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and social, right? So all these things are part of our conversation, and we hope using this platform we are able to connect with more people, and we have our self-care Saturday self-development series for August. So this week is already the third week we are doing the self-development, which is the topic is a better you. All right, and yeah, so thank you so much for joining us on Zoom and also on the Facebook. So if you're on Facebook and if you're on Facebook and also on the Zoom, you can also say hello to us. And yeah, do share it with your friends, and do share our Saturday session, and where they can actually just register. So what is today's topic all about? And before we jump into the topic, we just want to explore, right? And know what are the agenda for tonight. So it's about knowing your strength, ways on how to be a better version of yourself, right? And maintenance of a better person within you. So Prof has requested for me to do a poll before he jumps into his topic, right? So I'm going to share my presentation. Okay, so I'm going to share my presentation with you. So this is like a poll, right? Okay, everybody can see. I'll make it full screen as well. Is it clear for everybody?
Yes.
Clear.
All right. So just a little quick poll. If you're joining us on Facebook, definitely on Zoom, we have a few people here already. So you can just type in the chat box, okay? So this is the fastest way we can actually do a poll. And because of today's topic, a better you, okay? So obviously, we want to know which area we want to highlight, right? What are the areas to achieve a better you? So it's a yes and no question. You can have multiple, we will give you a multiple choices, and you can type yes or no in the chat box, so we at least we get a bit of understanding about today's topic. Okay, are you guys ready? All right, so the first one, correct thinking, yes or no? You can type in the chat box. Is this an area that it will help you to achieve a better you, yes or no? Yes, okay, so I get mostly yeses, right? Any no's? No. Okay, correct thinking, yeah. So I want to achieve a better you by using correct thinking. Okay, the next one, we just hop on really quickly. Emotions regulation. We want to be able to regulate our emotions. Is it something that we want to achieve? Yes or no? Very quick. I see a lot of yeses. Thank you for your answers. Thank you, Jasram. Thank you, Dr. Norain. Thank you, Nurin. All right. Okay, let's hop on to the next one. Adaptive behavior. Yes or no? Being able to adapt, right? Having that. Okay, thank you so much for your answers. Mostly yes, yes, yes. So we have more than one area that we want to improve, right? We want to definitely be better. Okay, next. A conducive environment. All right. Okay, mostly yes. And the last one, favorable relationship. I think this is important because no man is an island, right? Even if you're living alone, you still have to get connected to people, through work, through social media, right? Very fast, a lot of yeses. Okay, I think everybody's saying yes. Okay, right. So with that, I will let Prof take it away. Yeah, Prof, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Felicia, for assisting me with the poll. And there's a reason why I put up the poll, because I want to highlight to you all that actually it takes internal self and external environment to support us to be better. All right, so just let me share with you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera and a very good evening to everyone, to all my listeners, and to my for tonight. I would say this is our third talk on self-development. So it has actually been one flow to the other, and so now we look at ourselves to be a better person. Right. So as you know, because it takes a lot of areas, a lot of domain for us to be a better person. So let us look at these few captions to start with, so that we can understand better what we are referring to. All right. First and foremost, let your past make you better and not bitter. I think this is very important. Quite a number of us has been actually living and walking around with the past that possibly is not favorable enough. It does make us to be a bit bitter, maybe to some, but to a few, maybe there is even much more feeling of bitterness. And unfortunately, that feeling of bitterness affects us in our so-called life and living every day. Or this is another caption, very important for us to take note. The only person you need to be better than you is a person you yourself were yesterday. So what does it mean is that? That means every day is a day for improvement. Today will be better than yesterday, and tomorrow will be better than today. So this is very important for us to actually take note. If we have that in our mind, if we have that in our intention, if we have that as our goal, I believe we can always progress much better. And this is another caption. Every day I become a better person, not for anyone to start with, but for myself. And once I'm a better person, there surely be it will be better for everyone around me. So that is what it is important for us to take note. So as you know, a lot of people now, even before, there are many kind of stresses that we are going through. And the thing about stresses is that it does affect our emotion, the way we respond to those stresses. And here, basically, we are talking about two elements that actually affect when we have stresses. One is the way we think, we call it the cognitive element. Another one is the emotion. So the way we feel and the way we express in our affect, the way we express in our facial expression. So we need to regulate these two, this cognitive emotion regulation. And if you are good with a cognitive emotion regulation capacity, that means you are good to actually face what kind of a stress, you end up becoming well adjusted to the stress, and you are called to be a resilient person. But if you have what we call cognitive emotional dysregulation, that means your ability to regulate your cognition, your thinking, or your emotion, then you may end up with two basic issues that most of us are facing. That is, either we end up with body illnesses or diseases, or we end up with the mind or the psychological diseases. Here, as you know, the body diseases can be hypertension, can be gastric ulcer. We can be weakened, and we can easily, our immune system is down, and we can easily get infection. Or the psychological one can be anxiety, can be depression, or it can trigger even much serious kind of a psychological illness or mental ill health. So first and foremost, when we talk about cognition, we talk about our thinking. So how we can achieve what we call thinking correctly. Let us look at this statement. What does it mean here? A lot of people usually generalize things by saying every day. That means all the time, most of the day. I feel fat. That means negatively looking at self. So if you were to use this to actually so-called reinforce in your thinking, every day in my life, I feel fat. Every day in my life is not good. Every day in my life, things won't work for me. So that means you already actually incorrectly having this thinking when actually it's supposed to be, yes, some of the day I may not feel well, but not all the time, not every day. So this is very important because a lot of us have the past which create our bitterness, and unfortunately with that bitterness, we may actually using the wrong defense mechanism. The defense mechanism that we use to quite a number of people who tend to feel their worth is less. They are so-called feeling that they killed, they punish themselves, then they use the defense mechanism, we call it generalization. So once they generalize, it's as though like everything, nothing is going to be better for them. So this is the issue. The thinking is very important because that is where it starts. That is where it begins because the way we see it. And unfortunately, quite a number of times, how the thinking comes about is based on our past experience, is based on our past learning. It is based on what we end up with a belief that become our mindset, that become our attitude. So that is the issue. So now we are talking about the emotion. So if you were to look at our emotion, since you already look at yourself negatively, so obviously the consequence will be a negative emotion. So here, what we are trying to actually improve ourselves is looking at the emotion in a much better perspective. All right, even you can actually experience the negative emotion. As I said, emotional health is about an emotion that just occurs at a particular point of a time before it ends up to become mental ill health. So emotional health is actually transient. It's actually a brief. It's temporary. It will come, it will go. But unfortunately, if we let it to be prolonged, to be persistent, that is where the issue starts. So we should strengthen the feeling awareness skill. Now we should be aware of the emotion. So that is the first thing. Aware of the emotion. Validate your emotion. People from outside also can validate that you have that emotion. Don't ever say that you should not have that emotion because everybody has the same emotion. The emotion of joy, the emotion of sadness, the emotion of actually calm, peaceful, and the emotion of feeling within themselves some kind of feeling disarray, feeling not happy, things of that nature. The emotion of a person who can actually handle stresses very well without getting angry, irritable. But some of us will have to be angry and irritable. Those are all actually normal emotion. As the emotion is normal, the idea is actually to be a protective nature to us. If we are not angry, then people will take advantage of us. If we are not able to defend ourselves, then we weaken ourselves. So actually, it's very good to have that kind of a feeling because the emotion will make us stay away from being abused or manipulated. So you must be fully aware of your ability to actually see those emotions, but knowing how to deal with it. And then learn the technique of self-soothing. That means, keep yourself how should I say, be kind to yourself and not to be actually just punish yourself and make yourself more and more guilty, things of that nature. So when you have a self-soothing skill, you will find many ways actually to keep yourself in peace, in harmony. Example of self-soothing is when we see all the challenges, we say that it is actually a growth element for us to be a better person, for us to know what was our shortcoming, what was our mistake before that we end up having that problem. And now we should be able to look at it so that we can prevent from the same thing happen again. Or we can use the self-soothing method. Example, we use recreation. We go around with people around us that could support us, that could actually soothe our feeling. So this is what we call self-soothing skill. So, and then we can practice a daily emotional fitness exercise program. Emotion here is very important. If we know how to do the proper emotion, we can become as like we exercise our muscle, as like we exercise our cognition, we can also exercise our emotion. So we can teach you how to go about practice a daily emotional fitness. Example, if you already keep saying that you want to be happy every day, all the time, no matter what are the issues, then that could be most important how to look to be a happy person. What are the things that can make you happy? So why are you then dwelling into the opposite of it? Right. The other issues is, can you find a support system? A lot of time, most of us actually have the myth, the wrong understanding, or the taboo that if we open up our emotion, people will say that we are already mentally unwell. When, as I said, emotional health is just a normal health that we need to handle, including the mental health. The only problem is don't let it to become mental ill health. That means you already become a disorder state, where a disorder situation, when basically everything are only a state which is not an illness yet, that it will come and go if you know how to deal with it. Also, then, you must develop this philosophy of acceptance. Anything, everything. Don't tell me that none of us have challenges. Everyone in the 24 hours of your life and living. Sometimes you have good news, sometimes you have bad news, sometimes you have challenges in the form of obstacle. Sometimes people trying to actually make you feel unwell and unhappy. So these challenges are there. And sometimes you end up with a lot of so-called things that happen to you that you don't expect. So first and foremost, learn how to accept it, because actually acceptance will handle your so-called bereavement. If you have any kind of a losses, if you don't accept, you cannot proceed with your bereavement. And if you are not accepting, the bereavement will continue for a very long time, then it becomes pathological for you. In fact, bereavement is normal, losses is normal. So you must learn how to accept that. And once you accept it, you can move forward. So control what you can and let go what you cannot. So there's a lot of things people are trying to take everything in and not knowing what they really can be in control and what are the external factors that they can't control at all. And I believe all of us can control things that is within us. Unfortunately, very difficult to control things outside us because it involves another person, it is involved another personality, it is involved external factors that is very difficult for you to take control. And try to live a meaningful life. This is very important. Once you can actually look at your life in a meaningful manner, despite even your will is turning down, it in fact you will not actually feeling happy because your will is not up yet, or your will is not your turning wheel is actually not at the upper side, but it is at the lower side. But there is always a meaning to the life. The meaning to the life is that it is a dynamic life. It is a movement. It will keep turning. Once you are up, at times you will in the middle, at times you will be at bottom. Then it will move forward again, it will turn up and down. So this is the thing that you must understand. The meaning of life is full of challenges and full of tests that you have to go through to be a better person. Or what you can do is basically you can actually letting go the emotional suffering. And this is where what I say, must be mindful. Using the principle of mindful, first and foremost, just have the intention that you want to check on your current emotion, and then you just observe that emotion without any kind of a judgment. Note that it's present. Don't get stuck with it. Just if it is present, just step back and try to look at it in a neutral way and non-judgmental way. And just experience the emotion to the fullest. It may be with of coming in and going out, and not to try to block the emotion, not just to push it away, not just to sweep it under the carpet kind of a thing. Don't try to keep the emotion around, and don't try to increase the emotion. Just be the witness of your emotion non-judgmentally. So this is important because you know that you have to experience the emotion, and you have to let it come and then let it go, and then you can move forward. Remember, you are not your emotion. Emotion is only part of you. So basically, remember that the whole of you is basically not just based on the emotion that you have. You are much better than just that emotion that you have. And the other thing is that practice respect, loving yourself, and don't judge yourself, and have a willingness with that emotion and accept that emotion. And most important, accept yourself with kindness. If you don't do that, then actually you tend to hurt yourself and you feel guilty about it, and you tend to actually punish yourself. And that's where you end up into depression. And what you worries is that the depression can escalate into a very worse situation. Example, feeling worthless, wanting to harm self. Possibly some people end up either accidentally, they may actually hurt themselves badly. Okay, I got to move that slide. Unfortunately, the slide isn't moving. Okay, so first important is now try to see yourself every day. What is the purpose of your life every day? When you tend to wake up from your sleep, set the purpose correct, right? The purpose is to be happy, to be at peace, to be have harmony within you. So this is very important because a lot of people actually start their life and living in the day for the 10, 24 hours. Sometimes they forgot about the purpose, why and what they want to do over that 24 hours. So the purpose is to be a happy person, to be a peaceful person, to be able to go through life without much negativity within themselves. And again, happiness is not the absence of problem. You will have the problem. But most important is it is your ability to deal with them. So take ownership, take responsibility, be accountable of yourself, what is going on with you. There are times we actually attract the problem. And there are times when actually the problem from coming from the external, but we bring them into ourselves. This is where, like previously when I talked that you can be angry, but actually what make you angry is not because the people that bring it to you. You bring it to yourself because you accept your choice to be angry. You may just actually push it away, not to be angry. So make sure that you realize this one. You take ownership, you be responsible, accountable, and you know how to deal with it. And don't try to do what you call blame others, pointing fingers to others, justify or excuse yourself for not be responsible. Always remember what happened to yourself is your choice. So don't excuse and introject or saying that or project saying that other person is at fault but not you. So I could say that yes, truly, totally, it takes two to tango. You may be at fault, the other person can be at fault, but it is your choice to feel bad about it. And don't deny. So that is very important. Be responsible, don't deny, face it, deal with it correctly. So here is what we call strategic mindset. Try to expand looking at now. A pessimist will look at everything, even an opportunity, they will miss the opportunity. When the opportunist will be able to actually look at it in a very better perspective. Even though it appears to be something that might be difficult to work on, but the opportunists will find a way how to look it in a better perspective. All right, then exploit your assets and capabilities. Use as much as possible your potential. Look at your strength, decrease your weaknesses, or put aside your weakness, but push up your strength, develop your strength, and prepare yourself to actually face more and more serious challenges. The other thing is try to actually look into a bigger picture. A lot of time, most of us are actually focusing on a very narrow-minded kind of a way of looking at things. We call it a very scotomatic kind of a scotoma kind of a eyesight, looking at only that. I mean, like we shine light only to that particular thing. So it just appear that kind of a thing when actually the outside that area of that shining light, there are much more a bigger picture of things. All right, so this is very important for you to look that manner rather than just looking it narrowly. And systemic review or view of the organization. Here we are talking about the organization from within you and also the organization that is around you. How is your family? How is your work area? How is your friends and relationship? So look at the better, bigger picture and review it systemically so that you can see what are the main issues here. Or we can look at these first. Please remember, it all boils into either your attitude or your character. That is, you can see all those words, the key words here that is mentioned in terms of attitude. Are you a narrow-minded person or a fixed-minded person as compared to an open, growth-minded person? So that is very important. Are you able to understand? Are you able to actually have the right attitude, the right abilities, the right knowledge to be able to handle things? Or looking at the character side, what kind of a character are you having, right? Are you a person who actually morally, ethically sound in that sense, honest, right? Having what we call diverging and converging thought, able to listen well, able to accept, right? Able to reflect. Or are you a growth-minded person, a growth person who can always move forward, taking risks, knowing what to do, knowing how to look at things in a future-oriented manner, knowing how to keep continue having a vision and learning and be resilient. So those are the things that could help you better. And the wisdom that you have. So the wisdom is about how you look at things wisely. Quite a number of us actually possibly need time to be mature, growth-wise, and to be wise in our way of making judgment, in our way of looking at things. So this is very important. We have to develop this mindset. So just be a better person day by day. Number one, observe and be aware and take notice of things. And the world is full of so much more than you could ever find, possibly on the social media or any other platform. So actually don't try to narrow yourself only to that particular thing that could be a stressor, right? Make notes any way you can. You can look at it, photograph it, doodle it, keep it when you, it's useful. Read about a lot of things. Be thankful. Be what we call a person with gratitude. And you can write every day anything that goes through your mind. Then you can become a better person because actually you are looking at it in a much better perspective, in a much better way on handling how to be better than before. So here we can do a to-do list to be a better person. So every day when you woke up, I think you have to decide that question that we put up for you, the 5 area, is about your thinking, it is about your feeling, it is about your action or reaction. So if you can do that for yourself, that would be good because until unless you take stock of these 3 domains in yourself, so then it will make you to be, how should I say, a person that could be an easily stuck with some issues, stressors, or distressed person. But always also remember, beside your internal self, the soul, the body, and the mind, there is also the social and the environment factor that you must also look at it in a proper manner. So when you know better, obviously you do better. In this case, that means you have to have knowledge. You have to have a lot of, interaction with people who is much better, is much knowing. You actually seek knowledge, you seek advice, you seek guidance, and then if you know better, you can be better. You can do better. Here, this last slide, I think, the way to create a better life is to stop playing the victim card. Is to stop making excuses. Is to stop letting the society control you. Is to stop trying to make other people happy. Is to stop relying on others to make you happy. And stop doubting yourself. And start enjoying alone time. Turning off gadgets. So gadget is not the only thing in your life. Go outside, see the world, explore. Why people think now I cannot do it? Well, actually, virtually you can still explore. It's as though like you are still outside in the world. If your visual imagination and the way you can use your so-called whatever that gadgets that you have, you can still as though like you are in the place, even though you are not there, because it is real if you can imagine yourself to be there. Do start positive thinking. Do start believing in yourself. Do actually make your happiness. Do express your creativity. Don't just base on one particular thing that set you back. Everything is gone. Everything is lost. Everything is not noted and seen anymore. Acknowledge your desires. Acknowledge your dreams. Acknowledge your wishes. And make everything you want happen. So don't think that actually you don't have the power to make it happen. Well, truly enough, you need the guidance and the assistance from the Almighty. But it is you who have to put the effort to make things happen. And make your own happiness, kind of whatever tips that you want to use, and help others realize that they can have their own happiness too. And this last word is where we will actually tangle you with the coming talk, where know your inner voice and then inspire others. So this is what I'm going to share for you today. So I believe I will stop the sharing now and let us talk about it. All right, thank you. Felicia, back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Prof. Thank you for your sharing. Yeah, I think that is a really good sharing on the how to work on ways to be a better you. Yeah, like you mentioned, creating a list, um, creating a checklist or creating a list for yourself. How do you write? So what do you suggest?
Well, as for me, I again and again, I try to encourage that don't try to get to do so many things.
Mm.
Don't try to, as though in that 24 hours you can make a change to almost everything that you want. So I will focus on one thing at a time. Sometime for the day, what was really the issue with me that make me not a better person?
Mm.
So then I will take that as my issue for the next day to improve myself. Similarly, as I in the past, in the last week presentation, I was talking about you don't need to actually go into everything for that 24 hours, because then by the second week, obviously you will not be able to look into it seriously, because you say now everything fails because you cannot do. So I will focus on one example. I will focus on my thinking. If today somebody triggers me to have a very negative thoughts about certain aspect, I
Mm.
will write it down, and then I will actually try to analyze why, what made me have that kind of a thoughts,
Mm.
and what was the issue that pushed me to become emotionally distressed.
Mm.
So based on just the thought, actually, I can look into even the emotion.
Yeah, you brought up a very interesting point there, because I remember during the last session we had the with the self audit. Now
Mhm.
it's very it's actually connected,
Yes,
because you mentioned like asking your some of your close friend or family member about what they think about your
yes.
what they think about you, where
Mhm.
in terms of communication, in terms of all these lists of questions that you can so it's actually good to review and audit that. and then use the audit form from last week's session to where do you want to start to improve yourself? Like, how can you be a better person? Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
Because if we were to take so much, I think we are quite confused and lost.
Yeah.
So the next day we don't know even where to start, and
Mm,
we don't even improve to certain thing that we can actually focus on. That is where mindfulness is all about. Mindfulness always talk about take one thing at a time and do it well, and then you can move forward. It may
mm,
take a while. It may take a while, but always remember, if you are not good at it, it will come back again to you.
yeah.
So that's why I think it has to become a second nature to you, where you are in charge fully now. You're
Mm,
not again, like a turning wheel, always having a trouble. You try to be up for a while, then it comes down again.
yeah. It's like fixing let's say, fixing like a headache with like a Panadol, right? You can get rid of the symptom, but what is the reason behind your headache or migraine or whatsoever, right? So
Very true.
yeah, and like what you said, it will come back to you. So I remember this very nice analogy. You cannot move forward unless you change that flat tire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You,
So
you, you, you can move with a flat tire, but it is a taxing way of doing it.
yeah.
And it makes a
So
big
frustrated.
noise. And at the end of the day, the rim will actually turn back.
Mm,
Obviously, the tire is already going to be,
yeah.
worse. You can't use anymore.
More
But
than
the rim is also going to get affected.
yeah. Then instead of just the tire, you have to change the whole thing, and you may damage
More costly.
more costly. Yeah. Right. So yeah, we welcome like some of our new friends that just joined in. Yep, definitely you can unmute yourself and ask a question, or you can type in the chat box if there's any question regarding how to work on being a better you. I think we all want to do that, and we all want to do that, right? So I think one of the things is to know your strength, and knowing instead of focusing on so many things like what Prof has mentioned, you want to focus on the things that is most likely like affecting maybe your relationship or your work.
Hmm.
So that is like your priority, right? And yeah, you mentioned also, Prof, very interesting that I mean, while we're waiting for the questions, you mentioned that we are not our emotions, but how do we not let the emotions get to us? How do we protect ourselves from that?
Okay. That's why between emotion and thoughts,
Mm,
uh, thought comes from our intellect, comes from actually the way if we get a proper thinking, the proper ability to use our intellect, and subsequently with the use of the correct intellect controls the emotion. But unfortunately, we easily let the emotion take over the intellect, and sometimes completely we don't think about it. We just feel about it. So I think that is where we must know the place, this place who actually, or which is more higher than the other. So if we know that thinking, that's why we are different than the animal, because animal have emotion possibly. Animal will use the animal instinct to react, but we use the thinking cap to actually decide how to react and how to place our emotions. So unfortunately, if we don't use our thinking cap and we put our emotion, and I can tell you, out of anger and out of frustration, what can happen is irritability. Based on irritability, it escalates into aggressivity, and
mm,
aggressivity can end up either hurting self and hurting others.
mm,
So by then, you are really out of control.
yeah.
So that's why thinking cap and using the thinking cap will be much easier. To do that, you have to be mindful of your thoughts, of your
Mm,
emotion, of your reaction. I
mm.
think this is where we go back to the basic of being mindful in everything, moment to moment that you experience. Only then you can take charge.
Yeah, there is a comment on Facebook say from Jaspuan. He mentions it. Thank you for the sharing. And yes, many need these strategies to overcome their distress emotions, like you mentioned, right? Irritability, And I think it's very common during the pandemic because we are locked at home, working from home. Obviously, you cannot express, like, we no longer have that physical touch, right? Like handshake. I mean, it's a very common culture, you hug, and so we lose all that, and not being able to express yourself is like, I can only imagine, like maybe a kid not knowing how to tell the parents, like, he or she is hungry, and just cry, and like, like make all this noise and things like that. So this is how we are, I think, during the pandemic. So definitely, yeah, like looking at the cases, right? We're talking about, obviously there is a risk of contracting the virus when you go out. But there's also another mental risk, where people are getting into, like, distress emotions. When prolonged, it becomes depression. It has, you have anxiety, you have panic attack, and it's reported, right? We have more, suicidal, cases, and people harming themselves, like what you mentioned just now, right? Not only harming other people, but they're harming themselves first and foremost. So how do we go about that? How do we, because I think next week we are going to talk about how to help other people, right? As well. Like, okay, like being on this particular topic, be a better you. How do we can somebody, like, okay, now I'm in a position where I'm distressed or sad. How do I make myself feel better? How do I elevate my emotions?
Okay. First and foremost, obviously, all of us are, in a way, I can tell you, frankly, even me as a psychiatrist, all of us have some element of vulnerability, some element that actually people can still poke us, situation can still push us to a corner. We can still crumble. That's why that is where we call it resilient. That is where we call it our mental capacity, ability to look at things in the proper perspective and whatnot. So what happened to most of us is that again and again, non-stop trying to improve ourselves, non-stop trying to develop ourselves. So I can tell you there is no way we can stop saying that I am okay already. There's no such thing as that because none of us are perfect. We are all on a journey. It's just a process. And at the end of the day, I can tell you, if you live on your animal instinct, you can easily get into that threatened competitive nature. If you live at your ego self, yes, then your ego self also can threaten you. Because if that things doesn't go your way, you feel as though you have been in a way manipulated, you have been in a way pushed over, you are in a way feeling that you are not advantaged. So now you have to use your element of that ego self to develop your maturity and to develop your wisdom. Because if you don't have maturity, you don't have wisdom, then you may end up thinking, having all these so-called, even though you are wanting to be a positive person, the negativity will always take over.
Yeah.
So what you can do is that now you want to be a wise and mature person. Does it mean it takes age? Does it mean it takes years? No, it's not necessarily that. It is the way you see it and the way you put your attitude and the way you create your mindset. So that's why in all of us, we have the three psychic level of the mind, the id, the ego, and the superego, or the ego self and the ego ideal. So if you can develop your ego ideal much better, then you know the morality part of it. What is right, what is wrong, what should not, what can, what cannot. So and you have a better judgment. And once you have a better judgment, you are a better person because judgment is the function of your reasoning. So you have to reason out first before you just react. So I think this is where we are trying to actually develop ourselves, not to blame, but trying to understand
Yeah.
who and where we are until unless we understand that.
Yeah.
Only then we can make a difference.
Yeah, from your point, Prof, I think it's very interesting. I have a takeaway from your the points that you shared just now. The first one would be 10% is what happens to you, or what it, and 90% is how you respond or you react to it, right? So, and also you mentioned maturity, And that's very important, to have that skill, to have to train to be better, right? Don't wish things were easier, but you wish you are better, right? So I think the better one is not like you just wishing, you can actually work on it. And I think using the strategies that you shared, and yeah, we are normalizing the conversation and saying that it is okay not to be okay. Nobody's okay all the time. Even like you're not okay all the time, right? But you have the maturity and the wisdom to know, to be mindful about where you are at the moment, your emotions that you're currently feeling. It's not discarding it. It's not about saying that what you're feeling is not valid. It is valid. But it's also making that choice and decision on how to deal with them,
Yeah.
rather than like sweeping it under the carpet, right? So yeah, so you definitely, thank you so much for that share.
I may add, it is
Yeah.
okay not to be okay,
Yes.
and it is okay also to talk about it when you are not okay.
Okay, who do
Don't
we
have
talk
the
to?
stigma. Don't have the stigma.
Yeah, but
Don't
who
feel
do we talk
taboo.
to? I think some, sometimes because of social media, we
Mm,
have this so-called sometimes we don't know where to went, right? So some people, they just blow up on social media, so which
mm,
is a little bit scary for some people who are not like
yeah.
professionals, or they don't know how to deal. Hey, are you okay? It can be harmful to say to those people
Mm,
who is currently like expressing or venting out their frustration or anger,
yeah.
like saying, we have friends that post on, sometimes we find ourselves we don't have any place to express ourselves. So yeah, where do we actually share
Okay.
when we are not okay? Yeah, that's the most important thing.
Number one is that it is okay also to express yourself, even though the way you express it is not okay. That means you blow your top, you become angry. It's okay to actually, for us who are in the other side, should be very compassionate, trying to understand how it end up that way, not making judgment, not pointing fingers, not blaming that person for not being okay there. So that's why if we are okay with that, then that person also feel that it is okay to express to us much better, much easily, because they realize that actually we look at them with a kindness, with empathy, with compassion, rather than they believe that we are actually judging upon them. Also, the other thing is, as you were saying, now where and how kind of a thing to express, to
Yeah.
say that. Now, the only thing is that sometimes people say if you just say it out loud without expecting someone to respond, just remember this. Will it make a difference later if you don't really point to the right direction for people to respond to you? So it might be just a waste of energy expressing it out without knowing or getting the feedback that you really want to improve, to be better in yourself or maybe in the environment. So that's why they call it barking at the wrong door. If you bark at the wrong door, it is basically making noise and you won't get anything out of it. So I think when you are more wise and more mature in that sense, I think you'll be able to control yourself, not to do all those so-called things that maybe doesn't bring much good effect. But later it can be also be detrimental. I mean, some people just express it out loud until they end up with the law. They get into trouble with the law because the way they see it out, it could be what we call a fake kind of a thing, or a fake accusation. And that accusation can be a repercussion. There is a reciprocation. And then people who get at the other side or the other end will then turn back to you and get you into trouble.
Yeah.
So, and that's when you want to menyesal also no good already, because terlajak perahu boleh diundur, terlajak kata, you're in deep trouble. So that kind of a thing. So I think true enough, all of us at this point of a time are so agey. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
All of us are so agey. Don't worry, even myself also experience the same thing. Among my colleagues, sometimes we have a tendency to be agey with each other because oh, enough is enough. Don't test my patience anymore.
Everybody's a ticking time bomb, right?
Yeah, everybody actually is a time bomb. Now a matter of who want to actually started that counter on the time bomb. That kind of a thing. So that's how I look at it.
Right. Okay, great. So yeah, I don't know if there's anybody with any more questions. It'll be yeah, nice to, yeah, if you have any questions, you can always send me a message as well, so that maybe for the next coming session that we are going to talk about finding your voice and how to inspire others. All right. Okay. Dato Norain raised a hand. Hi, Dato Norain. Yes.
Hello.
Hello, Felicia. Hello,
Hello.
everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Assalamualaikum.
Prof. Mohammad, thank you for sharing these important facts in life to better me. I guess I want to say something that there is no doubt being happy is our choice and decision. It comes from within and not from external. So, and I guess the definition of the better me is different from one person to the other person.
Yes.
Yeah, like for me, before I have been very busy and serious in life. So, being a better person for me is going to be about firstly taking my time, doing constructive fun things. Secondly, to nurture my hobbies that I cannot focus before. And thirdly, being mindful and present at home, because I used to travel everywhere most of the time. And lastly, I guess being more patient with myself and with the others. And I think the better me is not about being perfect.
Yeah.
That's for me.
True.
Thank you so much for your sharing. Wonderful. And you're looking very good. I think I get her updates.
The better me every day.
Every day,
I
yeah.
guess I'm
Every
practicing it.
you get better and better, right? Yeah.
Actually, once you become a better person, it's
Yeah.
transmit. It's transmit like in your
Yeah.
aura, in your
Yes, the
glow.
aura.
Glowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be there. I mean, and
Feel
people
it.
when they were around you, they feel better too.
Yeah. Actually, it's a journey. It's a
It
journey
is. It
towards
is.
that, towards happiness and a better me from whatever stage you are.
Sure. Very true. Very true. Never give up. Never think that things are already a gone case, a gone situation. There's always still the wheel turning. So there will be ups and downs, but you have to move forward because you need to turn the wheel to move forward.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Thank
wonderful.
you, Dato.
Very inspiring. Thank you, Dr. Norain.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, I think we want to just wrap things up. Thank you everybody for joining. Yeah, you can always submit your questions and you have anything that you want to ask. And if it's related to our next week's topic, finding your voice and inspiring other people, you can also have some questions that you can submit. Then maybe we can choose a few selected ones, then we can actually talk about it as well, so that it will actually help you to to be better and finding your voice, right? So that is the whole key to like developing yourself. Everything is from within, so that you can only you can be better person for yourself and for other people, right? So definitely do share the registration link with your friends, and so just to like really, because we are all doing this on a volunteering basis, so it is our with gratitude and with blessings that we are able to do this from home, and with the power of technology and connection of friends, of different experts, so we are able to be able to conduct this, and then everything is like blessing from God, from the universe. And tonight, if you're joining us, definitely it's everything happened for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? So there's always a message for you, and there's always a message that you can take away and write things down, like what Dr. Norain has shared. And it's an ongoing journey, right? So thank you so much to everybody that joined, and we wish you safe and have a good weekend.
Felicia, maybe we can get Francis to say something. I always love to hear Francis' point of
I think
view.
Dato Norai has summarized the thing, yeah. So that reminds me, the best ground to start is start from home.
Yeah.
Because at home, you can flare anytime you want. Because
Mhm.
outside you can be a very nice person, out inside you can be a different animal. So I think we have to be watchful of our thoughts and our inner voices. I think that's a good thing to do. Thank you so much for the framework. Thank you, Prof.
Okay.
Thank you for all this.
Right, maybe next week we can also talk about how, because I think some people are curious about Coach Francis' 5 a.m. routine, right? And yeah, so it will be interesting to hear, how you can, different ways to channel, working on yourself during this, pandemic. And now that we are going to be in a new norm soon, right? Hopefully things go well. Yeah, definitely we have to go out. You can't stay at home all the time with the fear. So definitely we need a lot of mental toughness, mental strength, and a good a good mindset to be able to go out and connect with people once again, right? So yeah, so thank you everybody, and please do stay safe and have a great weekend. I hope you have a lovely Saturday already, and we're gonna have like a great Sunday, right? And enjoy the rest of the day.
Yes.
And yeah, we are definitely wishing everyone okay, next week is very special. Next week is going to be very close to Merdeka, right? So maybe we can come with a bit of a Merdeka theme, right? You want to have a background of with the Malaysian flag or something like that. It'll be nice. All right. So
Okay.
Okay,
yeah,
that's a good idea.
looking forward for it to it, right? Yeah.
I can pakai or I can pakai t-shirt bendera Malaysia.
We can pakai, like, I don't know, traditional outfit or something like that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we should.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Okay,
you so
then.
much, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for
Good
listening.
night.
Good
Take
night.
care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.